Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Savage and Mr. Stress-Free Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
So good to be with you today. And we also have, of course, with us, as always, our co-host, Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you this fine day?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. I am a little bit looking different than normal. For our longtime listeners, they don't normally see me in glasses, but I am recovering from some surgery and I need to wear these for a little bit longer. So I apologize. I look differently, but hopefully the voice sounds the same, and maybe I'm seeing things a little more clearly than usual. Hopefully that's going to help today.
You look like a professor.
Oh, well, I'll take all the help I can. If it makes me look more intelligent, I'll take the look. Maybe I'll start wearing these all the time if that helps. But we want to, speaking of intelligence, we want to especially welcome a extra special guest that we have with us, joining us from Vancouver. And by the way, we are recording this early in the morning, or broadcasting this, it's being recorded and carried live, of course, on the radio at 101.5 and 1330 in the Cleveland area, and broadcast all over the world at wintradio.com, and of course, also through our Zoom network. But this gentleman has joined us before, and he is going to be a special guest with us today, waking up extra early in Vancouver. Dr. Jagjit Singh, and a little bit about him. He is truly an expert on mathematical modeling, and in particular, understanding algorithms, how they work in our society, in social media, marketing, in social justice areas. And truly, he understands how that functionality is affecting us. And we thought it would be especially valuable for his input today when we're talking about the death of jobs, which is the second continuation of that topic. So we certainly want to welcome Dr. Jagjit Singh. Doctor, thank you so very much for being with us.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks for the kind introduction.
We're so delighted that you are with us. And I know you've been a longtime friend with Ratanjit. So now we're friends as well. And I certainly value that. So Ratanjit, let's start with a little bit of a review for those who perhaps were not with us or have forgotten what we talked about last week. The situation in our country primarily, but also I'm seeing it on a global basis, but especially in the United States, is that people have taken the period of the pandemic and they have reassessed life. They have reassessed where they're at on a day-to-day basis with what they're accomplishing and what they're getting for it and where they're at. And in particular, 11 million people have quit their jobs over a 90-day period between April, May, and June. The July, August information hasn't been released yet. But based on a number of surveys of workers, the number is believed that as many as 50 million American workers are going to quit their jobs by the end of the year. And there's already a major shortage of service workers in restaurants and hotels and retail stores. Pretty much anywhere you go, you see help wanted signs. But it's also impacting even into white collar jobs, where a number of people are simply quitting. And at the same time as this is happening, there is a record number of people that are applying for new business licensing, setting up new businesses in their states. So there's a lot of people that are looking at going into business for themselves through this. And at the same time, one of the reasons that perhaps this has been happening is that the government, has tried to accommodate a number of people over the epidemic period, and they have increased, payments on an individual basis. They have increased monthly unemployment with federal subsidizing. They have increased the SNAP which is the food stamp program percentages. So a lot of people have received more. So you have a number of different variable factors here that have come together that have either created an atmosphere of not wanting to work, not needing to work, not being content with life, not being content with where they're at. So that's what we pretty much talked about over the last week's show. All these different complicated situations that have come together here to create what perhaps is the death of jobs as we know it. So any comments on that before we bring in Dr. Jagjit and ask him with how the algorithms and how understanding the mathematic models also is impacting where we are and where we're going from here?
Well, see, another side is, Ray, that our educational institutions are really far behind. They are 15, 20 years behind. And they are not preparing our students, graduates, for the jobs which are available based on new technology, new paradigms. So they are still parked in the old paradigm. I know of professors personally who are on tenures. They are using notes which are 10, 15 years old, still teaching the same thing to the class. So it is the whole education system need to be revived if we are going to, because just reading, writing, and having some computer skills is not enough anymore. So that is another side of it. And the third side is that because our technology is advancing, some of those common jobs are going to be replaced by technology. And with artificial intelligence coming on board, even white-collar jobs are going to be replaced by technology. So there is four things happening simultaneously. Our education system is not preparing, and human beings, initially after our first depression, making money was so important, making a living was so important, to feed your family was so important. And today, many of us have grown up in families where they're well-to-do. So even the other side of the equation is a person who works very hard, gets on the job, and ends up having a midlife crisis. Means sometimes in life, a person ends up asking, is this all there is to life? Just get up and go work and make a living? That life has to be something more. So that those elements are also, and with this technology and all that, it has accelerated everything which is happening around us.
Ratanjit, you and I are on the same page with all of those different factors. At the end of the last show, as we so often do with our Zoom audience, Dr. Jagjit added some other elements to the conversation, and this didn't make it into the broadcast. So some of our audience, most of our audience has not heard anything about this, but that's why we invited him, and now we want to hear his comments, because it appears like all of those factors tell the story. Everything that you just related, and I related the 2, 3, 4, 5 factors, but maybe there's something also happening through this that most of us are not aware of. Maybe there is a bit of a guiding force, a directing going on from other parties that are perhaps partially creating this situation. And certainly if they're not creating it, they are funneling people down certain paths that we don't even realize. And that is done with the algorithms, and people perhaps have heard that word, but they're not really sure what that means. And it's basically, well, let's let the expert give a definition of that. Dr. Jackjeet, maybe that's a really good way of starting here. What exactly, we hear about algorithms being used all around us now. What exactly is a definition of an algorithm?
Yeah, thanks, Ray. Algorithm is basically a sequence of steps which are followed by a machine to evaluate anybody or to process any type of process, to make a model, mathematical model, and give all the weighted values, and so that there is no human intervention and we get directly the results. Now here we are talking in context of jobs. There are 3 or 4 algorithms which I would like, they are important in getting job. First is, we always have a college or university ranking algorithms. How we rank them and what is the process of ranking and how the ranking affects the money of flow as well as the qualification of students into the universities and colleges. How it discriminates, how it leaves the poor students, how it does a lot of manipulation, and why the college rankings are done, what are the various forces which are affecting it, how this is manipulated, how algorithms are told. We have US ranking, you have many rankings coming in US about the colleges. The second is the algorithms which give admission to students. Which students are to be admitted? Are they the real merit is important or something else is important? Is the capability of paying is important? Is the tuition fee important? So we are not taking the capable students into the universities. That is another algorithm. Once that part is done, then every person who is seeking a job has to put a resume. And 72% of resumes, as reported in US, are never seen by human beings. They are only touched by the machines, and machines take care of it. So those algorithms, we can easily see that all these things, 3 algorithms, which are related to jobs. I'm talking only of those 3 which are related to job. There can be many algorithms which can affect your civic life, which can affect your evaluation, your job level working, on many other things. For each, there is an algorithm. So once that is done, that is a separate, that affects the society itself. But job related, at least 3 of these are very important. And even while taking admission, your credit scores and other things, all those scores are taken care. Your insurance scores, all these factors, so many factors are inbuilt in those. And that creates a lot of discrimination, and the right students for the right job are not being trained. There's a discrimination in that. Once they are trained, they don't get a job. So I feel that something is wrong with that system itself. The whole system is skewed and it is going against the poor people and against the merit people. So that is the one point which Ratanjit Singh also mentioned, that the other part is are we training them for the right technology? That I don't think we are doing it. We are still, the professors are far behind the technology which is going in industry. So this is a bit of algorithms which are affecting the jobs, and we can discuss each one of them in detail and how they affect the individual lives.
And Ratanjit, please jump in anytime. I don't mean to just make this a two-way conversation, but I think that there are certain things in our life that we want to believe are being done fairly and properly. And something like assessing a resume. If we are applying for a job someplace, we want to believe that we're filling out the resume completely and accurately, and that somebody receiving this is going to at least review it, at least look at it. We understand that maybe they won't like something that's on it and they'll disregard us, but at least we think that if we submit a resume for a job, it's going to be looked at. And to hear that you say that 72% of them are never seen by a human being, they're being disregarded just based on some of the data that's in there. Maybe 90% of it is perfect, but 10% of it doesn't calculate with what they're looking for, and they disregard the entire thing. Maybe it's 1% that doesn't make the cut, and therefore it's entirely disregarded. That's very disheartening to me to hear that that's happening. And I'm older and I've had an established life. I have to believe that for a young person trying to get a job early on, that perhaps doesn't have something that is being looked for. I mean, that is beyond depressing. I mean, that is a discouragement at the highest level to think that nobody's even looking at my resume because of one statistic that doesn't add up and doesn't meet the criteria. And you're saying that's what's happening, right?
Yes.
Right.
But Ray, there's a fundamental thing here. If our society, I'm giving example of medical healthcare, because there are close to $3 trillion spent on healthcare in the United States. So nobody is telling us what is the way to remain healthy. The whole system is based on curing. Whole system is based on sickness cure, not on health cure. But the other side is, so if I have a heart attack, I go to they have stents and they can have open heart surgeries, they can correct it and somehow, but nobody is telling us to avoid things which actually is going to cause heart attack when you age. So similarly in our society, the whole thinking is towards financial success, my being better than others, having a higher title, having a higher status. So all that is driven by what is in it for me. So anytime we are in a position to skew that against a race, against a gender, against a color, we would do that because we collectively want to get there. So all this need to be repositioned to a model or thinking of unconditional serving humanity. If we are our jobs or our products or our services are designed to make money at any cost, they'll be directed in a wrong side and they'll compromise humanity, compromise that environment and everything. And that is what we see. But if our mindset is guiding us to serve humanity, to add the highest value to humanity and highest value to environment, our entire product line, our technology, our education, everything is going to be different. So that is fundamentally wrong with so the direction is coming from what is driving us.
So to that point, you've just mentioned discrimination and Dr. Jagjeet mentioned discrimination. There seems to be a greater awareness today than ever of not discriminating, of not disregarding and unfairly treating minorities. And you would think that computers, the ability to look at data irrelevant of color and race and religious beliefs and those kind of factors, just looking at pure data would actually help in this discrimination problem. So I go to you, Dr. Jakjeet, and why is it in an era when we are more aware of trying not to discriminate, when we have more capabilities technically of not discriminating, why is this still happening? Why do we see that it's maybe worse than ever in terms of disregarding the minorities and manipulating the minorities?
Right. We have to understand how the models are built. For each social or any type of parameters, we give it a weighted value as per a math. Now that weighted value is decided by some human being to start with. That can be discriminating. But once it is built in a model, the person who is executing the model, he doesn't know about that. That has been inbuilt and embedded in the algorithm itself. So that is the point where people, they basically earlier it was, and when a discrimination happens, somebody has somebody to blame. But now they have put it that algorithm does it. We don't do it. Computer does it. Everybody has the same opinion as you have, that computer does not discriminate. But the model in which it is going through is already, there is some weightage given. Suppose, let us talk of a gender move. If I give a woman, if it is a woman, the resume should give it a, say, 5 points. And if it is a man, it should give 7 points. That has been embedded into the algorithm. So once the result will be coming, it will automatically reflect it, but it will not put a blame on anybody, because the person who is running he will say, I have put your data in the computer and it came like that. And he doesn't know that the person who has designed the model has already inbuilt that sort of a biasness and non-factfulness already in the system. So that is where the problem is. The problem is coming at that point.
We are just scratching the surface here on today's show. We're just getting started. Ratanjit and Ray, Dr. Jakjeet Singh with us here today, an expert in mathematical modeling and algorithms. And we're talking about jobs in particular on this show, the death of jobs, and we will continue with that and how to perhaps shift that paradigm so that we don't have a death of jobs. What can we do to try to solve that problem? But along the way here, understanding algorithms, and for those of you that are not familiar with that, it goes much deeper than jobs. It is certainly controlling, in many cases, any evaluations of us when we're applying for credit, when we're trying to buy a house or a car, when we are getting information on our computers. What is being sent to us is being manipulated based on our viewing habits and our buying habits. The people that we are interconnecting with digitally very often is being impacted by algorithms. Even the prices that we pay, the costs that are put in front of us are many times determined by these kind of things. And again, I'm just scratching the surface with things that come to the top of my mind. There's a lot of controls that are in place that Dr. Singh can share with us that we need to know about. We most definitely need to know about, and we need to try to see if there is a remedy, a solution to what is taking place, affecting us with jobs and affecting us with so much more of life. We have a lot more to talk about, and we will be back on Stress-Free Living in just a moment. Please stay with us. All right, we have a couple minutes here to talk. I'm trying to understand this, Jackie. Am I accurate in what I am saying on this? Because I don't want to misrepresent anything that you believe or you say.
No, that is fine. That is fine. I will take an example. The insurance calculator in US, it while it is calculating the...
I'm gonna just stop you just because I want this to be part of the show. Okay, so you don't have to share it now and then share it again. So just hold that thought. Don't forget it.
Okay.
But I want to use that. We don't want to repeat on this because then we kind of forget. What I do is I forget. I say something and then I say, did I already say that? And I didn't say it on the air. So hold that thought for 30 seconds.
Okay.
Ratanjit, which way do you want to go with this? Do you want to, because we almost have two shows going on at once. We have all of this information with the algorithms and the injustice with that, and then we have, kind of the adding highest value mode, and we're going to need your brilliance to bring these all together.
Yeah, but I think we're talking about these facts. So it's important for everyone to know these facts and figures, okay, where this whole thing is. So I think
I agree. No,
yeah.
This is fascinating and it's wonderful information. We definitely want to bring it out. I don't want to shortcut you in terms of what you.
No. I think we are going in the right direction.
Okay, good.
Let's see how it goes. Let it go where it goes.
Okay. We try to tie into the spirit here, Dr. Jagjeet, so we're back. And we are back on Stress Free Living. Thank you so much for joining us. Ray Samich with you, Ratanjit Sandhi, as always, and today's special guest, Dr. Jagjeet Singh, who is joining us from Vancouver. And it's early in the morning, but his brain is wide awake, and he has shared with us some of his mathematical modeling expertise when it comes to algorithms in particular that are very dominant around us. And many of us, I would say the overwhelming majority of people around the world have no idea of how the big data compilations have been gathered on us and have been worked into algorithms as future modeling. So you had offered, Dr. Jagjeet, to talk about each one of the different ones individually. And I tell you what, let's go first, because you just had an example you were going to share with us just before we went to the break. Talk about the algorithm relative to insurance. Start with that.
Right. I want to share an algorithm, how the embedding is done in the algorithm. Once you are going to get a car insurance, the insurance company has an algorithm which goes into your credit history also. So why does it need the credit history? For the same car, if you are a rich person, it can charge you $1,000 extra. And for the poor person, it can charge it less. So depending upon your capacity to pay, the insurance cover will change. So that is embedded into the software. The person who is giving you a quote does not know that. He only knows that they key in the data and get you the result. Your premium is so much. But at the end, who has designed the algorithm, they want to maximize the profit of the company. So they will embed it like that. So the discrimination even between the poor and the rich, though the rich can afford, but he's being asked to pay more. So that type of things are happening. So once even we are talking of all the three steps, the first step which I called was that how we rank the universities and colleges so that the people who get admission, how they are affected. Those people all over the world, they are applying for it. So once, even if we go, what is the data for them and how the journalists are evaluating it? They are taking very few people who get the jobs and evaluating it and putting that this university does this thing. This thing does this, happens this way. So all these are skewed results of universities, of ranking and ranking. All the system of ranking is algorithmic. And it is so much skewed. Many times the basic reason is only to make profit. How much profit can be made, how much for each student we have to spend to get the student in, and whether the students can pay, what is even their insurance cost, everything is calculated so that the maximization of profit is the only objective. The objective is not the education or training or getting the best student and building a compatibility, but the objective is money. So that is maximized. So see where we are. So they are not training you for the job. They are training you for extracting money.
Sadly, I think many people, most of us are aware that education is a business. And, you brought a different aspect to it that even says the rankings of these colleges that we're looking at is probably manipulated data so that when we're trying to assess who we're going to give $100,000 or $200,000 to over the next 4 years for our child, we're probably not even looking at legitimate information in terms of making those determinations. And so and let alone the process of who's accepted, which I know is the second area of the algorithm that is certainly in play here. So let's concentrate on this first aspect just a little bit more, a little more questioning on this. Does it come to is it basically that people are being paid off? I mean, to create these algorithms, is the wealth of the colleges, of these institutions saying, we need to be misrepresented, we need to look better than we are, so only use this data and don't use this one? I mean, is that being manipulated at that highest level?
See, Ray, the fundamental before technically it is answered by Dr. Singh. The thing is this, Ray, that if your driving force is only money at any cost, then value. See, if you look at any institution today, business, of course, is designed to make money. So I can understand their thinking. If we look at religions, they are also parked in making money. There's more money the religious institutions have than businesses. Education is supposed to be a noble profession. So they are all designed to make money. Even when we look at the non-profit entities, they are also figuring how to get money so that they can survive. Their main focus, of course, they do some good work, but still they have to focus on making money. So all aspect of life, even in our personal life, when we get married, we look for the financial well-to-do of a person we marry.
Well, there's the level that says we have to survive. So any nonprofit, and I've been involved with many of them, any nonprofit has to be able to cover its costs. So we understand that. I mean, people can't work for free, and there's cost to doing business, to being operating. The difference is, are they also looking at making what's referred to as a profit, or are they making so much money that they're paying in wages that are much higher than they should be to their directors? Are they wasteful with the money? And I think that example relates over to the educational field. We know colleges and universities need money to survive. They have to pay the teachers. They have to pay for the facilities. We get that. But they're making an exorbitant amount of money.
But the fundamental thing is that our mindset have become quick fixes. We are Band-Aid society. To work on having good health is long time. If you do the right things, if you eat the right food, if you have the right thought, you will have good health. But we want good health. So we take shortcuts. So see, money is a byproduct if things are done correctly. And money can also be obtained if we do things incorrectly. It can come to us in a short run. So the whole mindset is getting money quickly, and we are taking all shortcuts.
Dr. Jetji?
Let us put it in another way. What is the industry of coaches and consultants doing? How do they work for admissions? They only know how to manipulate the algorithms and how we fit in those algorithms. And they make money to manipulate the algorithms. There's another way of putting the money in the admission part of the universities. Or maybe they are in collusion with the universities, or leak them that, okay, this type of students, we will bring it for you and we get a cut for it. So everything, the education, instead of being projected for the society in terms of merit and in terms of creativeness, is moving towards only the profitability of a particular community. So that is the key point, first point, which does not, basically it is leading that we do not qualify for the newcomers do not qualify for the jobs, because they are being manipulated for the admission purpose also. The person who are intelligent but poor, they don't get admissions. And those who have got a lot of money, we have already seen in cases where even the money payments for done entry by being sports coaches or other things, we have already seen that. So admissions and preparation for job is one of the aspects why we are not getting the good jobs and white collar jobs. That is another. So this is one aspect.
If we could just comment on one aspect there, tying it back to the jobs theme. If the younger people applying for a college or who are looking to get into a college that are perhaps from the poorer part of society, it just follows logically that if they were well educated and able to get into the workforce, they would be eager to perform. They would be passionate about performing in the workforce. They have a lot of incentive to change their lives and perhaps change the direction of their families' lives that have been poor. And so it would seem that might be the very best caliber of workers to add to our workforce. And yet, based on what you're sharing, because the algorithms are misleading people in terms of which colleges to apply to and controlling who ultimately gets allowed to attend, then it seems like there is a large group of people here that are potentially vibrant, passionate workers that are not even being considered for those jobs.
Right, it might be. Even when they are applying for jobs, the algorithms are focusing that to reject those candidates which are most likely to fail. I'm again repeating, they are looking for those criteria, they weight those things, which are the candidates which are most likely to fail, and select basically which are the most appropriate or best for them. So, and once they are selected, then comes your problem. They have algorithms to evaluate them in job. So how the algorithms are evaluating your job, how you are performing, how many times, even in smaller institutions, just like Starbucks has a full algorithm, how many times you can go on a break, how many minutes you go on a break, you are evaluated, how many minutes you talk on phone, how many minutes you work here, all the things are evaluated. Even in McDonald's, each package, how much time it enters and what time it leaves, they are being algorithmically decided, and the workers are being evaluated on job by algorithms, not by managers, but by algorithms. So those things, you can understand very much how the things can be operating even once you get a job.
This is Stress-Free Living. We need to take a quick time out. We're going to come back, and I'm going to start with this question for Ratanjit and Dr. Jagjeet. Can we change this? Are we on a merry-go-round here that we can somehow jump off of and redirect, or are we locked into this world of manipulative algorithms that are affecting jobs and so much more in our life? That's the question we're going to come back with, because it's a stressful situation, a stressful topic, and we're trying to reduce your stress on this show. Let's come back in just a moment. Please stay with us. Great. 90 seconds or so here, then we'll come back, and we'll only have about 12 minutes left.
The show went too fast.
I know, went so quickly.
Yeah.
Is there a solution? I don't want you to get into it yet, but it just is probably going to get worse as more people understand how they can manipulate things. They're going to even do it more.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see it reversing.
No, even if there is no regulation, there is nothing like that from the government side, because there is no like oath or anything like that.
And it's hidden discrimination. That's the thing. I mean, if I made a decision not to hire a black person, they can come to me and say, you did that. But if it's being done by computer models, they can't even blame any person for that.
Right.
They found a very sneaky way to manipulate the world.
Exactly.
And you're right that, it's not just against the rich or the poor. I mean, everybody's being affected by this. I mean, every group, I mean, certain groups are being affected more than others, but everybody is feeling some of this manipulation.
Right.
I did know in marketing, I learned a long time ago that, all three of us are in different economic states. So all three of us, when we visit the same website, are very likely seeing different prices for the items that they're selling us, based on knowing more about each one of us.
Right.
And it's like when I tell people that's going on, they say that's impossible. And I'm saying, no, it's it's happening right now. We're back. We are back on Stress-Free Living. Ray Samich, Ratanjit Sandhi, our special guest from Vancouver, Dr. Jagjeet Singh. And we have been, if you have been with us, we hope that you have today, because it's been a very enlightening show, but also a little bit of a depressing show to understand how algorithms are out there around us and how they are controlling so much of our lifestyle. And in particular, we are talking about jobs today and realizing that the algorithms are very much in place in our educational process, in our resume application and acceptance process, and even in evaluating employees as they work, and probably in other areas too, but those are easily determined that those are manipulating the decisions that are being made to go along a certain path. So it does cause a person who is very newly alarmed by this to ask, what's going to happen from here? Is there a way to control this process, or is it inevitably going to even get worse?
Well, Ray, look at this financial success model has brought us to. On one side, we are the richest country on earth with 21 or higher GDP, $21 trillion GDP, and 788 billionaires with $4 trillion of net worth, 20.2 million millionaires with $158 trillion of net worth. And look at this other side of this equation. 43% of the population of this country is not able to meet their household budget for healthcare, for childcare, for food, and for living, for housing. And over 40 million people live in poverty. So it is so skewed that rich people are getting richer and the poor people are getting poor. So we are not going in the right direction. So the purpose of any society is to serve humanity to its people uniformly, universally. And we have failed to do that. And of course, the more we go, we lose control. Because no matter where we go, we are judged by this computer algorithms. And our justice system is also pretty soon going to be controlled by all these data generated by, if it is not already controlled. And our elections are controlled by this. So we are living in modern slavery. This is the most sophisticated slavery the human race is subjected to. I don't know whether Dr.
I endorse what Ratanjit Singh has said. We are moving towards a slavery, but initially if we were talking of 100 years ago, we could easily say who is our master. Now the master has a face, is without a face, and he has put the computer algorithms in front of it. And perceived are, and there's a perception built in the mind of people that computer is in all form doing a fairness to everyone. So fairness has been sort of a masked in front of that, whereas there is no fairness. As you have said, in justice system, already in almost 15 states of US, the police department is using a sort of a algorithm to access who might be a criminal. So they are even stopping them. They are doing many things in various states. It is already there. It is implemented. So they stop and they probably find out that, well, he might be, what is the probability that he might be a criminal? He might not be a criminal. So depending upon only on his other features. So it is already being done. It is not good for society. I fully agree with it because it inbuilds a large inequality. And that inequality is ultimately moving the best for workers. They always say it is for the efficiency. You have already done a program on efficiency and effectiveness. So in front, this is only shown that we are doing all these things to produce efficiency. If we receive 2,000 resumes, how a person can go? So let us take out 1,500 resumes by the computer. It is efficient. So 1,500 are gone. So only I have to check as a human being 500 of them. So that is how it first starts with an efficiency. and then inbuilt the efficiency in a mask of efficiency and fairness, there are other things which are put into the algorithm. And once the top management, they take a decision that, okay, this is what is to be done, the programmers and other people duly, or the mathematical modelers. I see mathematical modelers are fully corrupt that way, because they will go by what is ordered by the bosses. And they will just design a mathematical model designed for that purpose only. So the inequality, how to maximize the profits, how to do it, that will be inbuilt in the algorithm itself. So it leads to slavery, in one form of slavery, and that causes frustration and stress while even you are working.
That is why 90% people who go, 85 to 90% people who go to see a doctor, the core reason behind their sickness ultimately ends up being stress and frustration. So we are compromising entire human race. And not only that, Ray, the corporations, big corporations, suddenly have no face. They can fire a CEO, they can replace a board member. Who is the corporation? So ultimately, the corporation themselves have become slave of this whole thing.
And it's not just the corporations, Ratanjit. It's really any big entities. I mean,
Any big entity.
It is the institutions. It is the big nonprofit groups. It is it's not just the business segment. That's probably what makes it so scary. I mean, it's the government. I mean, it's any entities that are using this big data and then using the algorithms that go with it. And if you stop and think about that, that's just everywhere around us. Dr. Jagjeet, I think I'm so glad you referred to the program we did on effectiveness versus efficiency. And if people haven't caught that, you can go to a YouTube, Stress Free Living Radio, and watch that, listen to that show. You are absolutely right. This is being veiled under the validation of efficiency. And everything that's happening here is we're doing this to be more efficient so that we put this data in there so we're efficient. But what's happening in that efficiency process is that it is immediately disregarding millions of people that just don't qualify for whatever reason. And that's just pushing them to the sides and saying, in the interest of being efficient, we're going to just concentrate on the masses. And to me, that is the ultimate sin here. The ultimate problem with this is that, you can't disregard even one person unfairly. I mean, even one person to discriminate and say, you don't qualify. There isn't even a just reason. You just don't qualify. That's unfair. But with the algorithms, this is being done to millions of people.
May I add to that?
Well, we have to go off the air. It is 9:57 in Eastern Standard Time here, and it is time. I'm so sorry, but we do have to say goodbye here. We have to close the show. Obviously, we need to continue this conversation about algorithms and about jobs because we still haven't really answered a number of questions, but we certainly have brought them to light. Ratanjit, 30 seconds, any closing words?
Yeah, we have to find the real solution. At least we can see a solution, and hopefully we can discuss that in the next show.
Yes.
Please join.
Look for solutions and try to relieve a little bit of the stress that we have additionally created here today. We went reverse on this show, but it was enlightening. Dr. Jagjeet Singh from Vancouver, we appreciate your being with us and your insights. Ratanjit, as always, so great to be with you. This is Ray Savage. We want to thank all of you for joining us here today and our other Zoom people as well and listeners all around the world. We value you and we every single one of you. We do not discriminate discriminate against either one of you. We love you all. Thank you so much for being with us. Remember, we're all playing the same game. We'll talk to you again soon.